We probably have to pump the solenoid. We suspect a bad four-wheel drive pump bypass plunger inside the motor. You'll notice that the pump starts to build pressure because the accumulator is empty, but it never stops running because there's not enough pressure in the system to activate the switch. And that causes the pump to run all the time because the bypass is part. What we have here is R32 GTR four-wheel drive pump assembly. Motor. This is the reservoir that goes on the front. This is the solenoid for bypass to the reservoir and then to the transmission. This is the check valve. There's a little ball in here. It's a check valve that is how the system primes the accumulator, so it builds pressure behind it because the pump comes in here, and then it builds pressure, and then it holds the check valve closed. Accumulator, the pressure switch. So this is the pump assembly that goes in here. So this sits like so, and then these go like so. They sit like this, and that's your pump. This is the coupler between the motor and the gears, and this is the bypass in question. So if you can see in here, this is the feed. This is this input here to the gear assembly, to the pump assembly, and then output is here. Then this is the channel that goes in here, and this is where the bypass sits. Bypass screws in here, and it dumps the extra fluid back into the reservoir. There's a little check valve ball in here. Doesn't take much to activate it because the orifice is really small. But that goes in there. So we suspect that this is stuck open and creating a loop of pressure that's not building enough pressure to activate the switch. And I don't know the exact pressure that these activate at. Probably 20 to 40 bar. I know that on the four-wheel drive on the transmission on bleed mode, it's 80 psi. So they're holding the solenoid open a little bit, not full bore, because I think at full bore it can get up to 280 psi. So I will check back, but I'm pretty sure that hopefully this is the culprit, and I think I can do it without removing the subframe completely from the car. Time. Everything is apart. Old junky one that we had lying around, and then this is from the car. So I pulled the oil bypass off first and checked it, and there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. And then while I was there, I'm like, this is all available, I'm gonna take this apart. When I took it apart, this is what I noticed. You can see in that picture, if we can get to focus. So that's a down, that is worn out. Here, that's the base, and that's the top, and it's worn out. So there's oil. This can't build pressure because oil is sneaking out around the drives. So that's wearing into that. So there's too much play here. That's all worn. So that's where our oil pressure is disappearing. This seems to be okay, the bypass. So the spare one that we had lying around, it's not worn at all. You can see there's no wear on the base plate, and very little scuffing on the top plate versus this one, which is just crazy. And then the top plate. Also, update on the oil feed. I was mistaken on here. I thought oil was coming in here. That's just to lube the shaft. oil is actually being pulled directly from the front with that tube. I'll put it together and I'll show you. So here's what it looks like. So it'll sit like this. And so oil comes in through that little hole, goes across the gears, and then out through the orifice here to here, and that's how it builds pressure. We swapped the pump cartridge on the four-wheel drive assembly, and now we're going to pay attention to see if the system primes properly and the pump shuts off as it should. Perfect. Update. Talking over with Doug, we came to this solution to this problem because the four-wheel drive wasn't working properly on this car. There was no codes, but the meter, the four-wheel drive meter wasn't going up. So we were in rear-wheel drive with no codes. So that led us to go down the road of the first problem was the oil pressure switch for the four-wheel drive was stuck in the full pressure position, so it would never turn the pump on. Then when we swapped out the sensor to an aftermarket one, a replacement, the pump would never shut off. And that's what led us down the road of where's the extra pressure? Why isn't it building enough pressure? So that's why we started down this route.